The next credit in the classification of element goes to Newland. Newland gave his law of octaves. What he observed that when the elements were arranged in the increasing order of their atomic masses, the eighth element was found to be having properties similar to the first one. And this is how when he arranged lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, and fluorine, the next eighth element, sodium, was found to be having properties similar to the lithium. In a very similar way, when the lithium to chlorine were arranged in the increasing order of their properties, the potassium, the eighth element, was found to be having properties similar to lithium and sodium. So it was how the law of octaves originated, and he was able to classify these almost about 16, 17 elements in this type of in this pattern. But he failed to classify the further elements. The reason is because they were not following this law of octaves. They were the elements which are lying after calcium were not following this law properly. So it was only able to classify the calcium, and that was a major reason why this law of octave was rejected. So let us move to the next type of classification, which is actually Mendeleev's and Luther-Mayer's classification of elements. The next credit goes to, for the classification of element, goes to Luther-Mayer. Luther-Mayer was the first one actually who tried to classify the elements on the basis of the properties like atomic volume, melting points, boiling point, etc. And when he plotted the graphs of the elements on the basis of these properties, he found that a periodicity appears in his graphs. Now the periodicity and the length of these graphs keeps on increasing. So he was the first one who noticed that the physical properties of the elements are the periodic functions of their atomic masses. And he observed that the length of the graphs which he got in the form of the peaks were keep on increasing. So he was able to make out that the length of these graphs is increasing, so more number of elements are included into the list as the mass is increasing. So that is why the Luther-Mayer gets a lot of credit when we are concerned about the classification of elements, regarding that when the elements were arranged in the arranged on the basis of their properties, the periodicity is observed in the properties. So that is why he was able to conclude to this periodic law, which is actually also called Mendeleev's periodic law, because later on we classify the same Luther-Mayer's observations and Mendeleev's observations in the form of a Mendeleev periodic law, in which they observed that the properties of the elements are the functions of their atomic masses. So that is the major contribution that Luther-Mayer has.